Hello, hello, and welcome to New World AETERNUM Weekly, episode 20. Full details on the February 28th patch, tomorrow's patch. I'm your host, Kai Zen, and I am enjoying this is Boulevard Brewing Company, Sticky Bun Alert, Cinnabon Ale. And I've got Dragon's Milk lined up behind it, chambered, ready to go. So hell yeah, we got some fun stuff to talk about today. We're gonna go through the patch in detail and get you all of the information that you need to be ready for things. So joining us today, we've got my man Wolf Dragon. Say hello to the beautiful people, Wolf.
Hello, everyone. Still getting back on my own 2 feet from Friday, so all I have is a soda with no fun stuff added to it.
You have got to try this Boulevard Brewing Company Cinnabon Ale. It is.
Oh,
Oh god.
I'm gonna go to the store later this week. I'm gonna see if I can find it because the baklava was good, and I want to try that one.
I keep recommending beers to you, and I think probably your pocketbook is not loving me at this point.
That's all right. It's the wife that's just like, you bought what now?
Yeah. All right. Also, we have Arkaven with us tonight. How you doing, Ark, and what you drinking?
What's up, man? Doing good. Having fun in New World as always, and I'm about to start drinking a Modella Negra.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. I love them. Love them. There's all different kinds of beers where it's like, oh, they've got the Negra version, and it's like, ooh, dark. That's me, man. I love I just love a nice Guinness where it's just like if you get them from Ireland, where it's like it's black as coffee, and it's like straight up you're just drinking oatmeal in a cup, and I love that shit. We also have with us Swordsmith. Say hi to the beautiful people, Sword, and tell them what you're drinking. I know you make your own like frou-frou little sodas out of some kind of machine.
Oh, y'all, this morning I'm drinking what amounts to a blackberry Diet Coke. I will fully admit it is one of my less successful experiments.
But you made it yourself out of that little machine, right? Where you put in different syrups and get
Soda
little
stream.
Yeah. This is the reach that we have. This is the crowd that we're running with here. We've got Swordsmith talking about it's morning because he's in Seattle, Washington, or Oregon rather, Portland, Oregon. We've got Ark, for whom it is already evening because he's in Germany. We've got Wolf and I on the East Coast, like we're all over the place. The squad has got some reach. So, all right, without any further ado, let's you know what? Let's have some further ado. Let's start off with everybody talking about what have you been doing and having fun with in New World this week, some of the fun stuff that you've done. For me, I'm going to shout out I've had tons of fun running stuff with the squad and getting my daily shits done. I'm over 100. I have over 100 cases prepped to pop tomorrow just of gypsum gear. So I have, 20 some odd swords, and I've got a bunch of warhammers and shields and heads and whatever. And I'm going to figure out the most advantageous way to level up my shit. I think what I'm going to do is I'd first do Outpost Rush, and then spend some orbs on getting my weapons super, super high because it's weighted such that your weapons are super important, and then turn around and use those. Now, instead of them giving 100 gypsum orbs, once I get those super, super high, they should be giving way closer to the 400 cap. Use those to just power level my armors up. But I'm super, super excited and have been having lots of fun. Last night, we had we basically did some silly dungeon runs, and we were having fun and playing music on the jukebox. And I just want to throw out a special plug and a shout out. Join, if you look in the show notes, we have our Discord. Join the Black Sky Legion Discord, and also come to, in New World, NA East, come to Pluto server, Marauder faction. Come join us. Anybody who messages me, I am Kai, Kai, space Zen, space BSL for Black Sky Legion. anyone who comes into the Discord and says, "Hey man, I just joined Pluto server. I'm looking for a home." So long as you're Marauders, you got a home here. We guarantee you, like, the slot is open. Come on in. We take all. It doesn't matter if you're like, "Hey, I'm a 625 super sweaty PvPer," or if you say, "Hey man, I'm a level 12. I don't have no gear score. I just bought this game today, but I just unlocked a faction." Come and join us. We will make a home for everyone. And if by some fucking miracle we get to the point where, oh my God, we have over 100 people, we'll make a second one. I don't care. We're going to, this clan, the Black Sky Legion, guild, company, clan, corp, org, whatever you call it, depending on what games you play. We welcome all. Anybody who's a fan of the show, you're welcome. Come, we'll help you. We can craft shit for you. I'm max level crafter at everything. We can craft stuff for you. We can, help you. We gather mats, help you level, answer questions, run dungeons. We can do everything. So come join us and have some fucking fun, because we are having stupid fun. I want to throw it over to Ark. What have you been doing this week that's super fun in New World?
Yeah, so I mean, it's been like it's kind of like Christmas Eve right now, right? So the whole week, I mean, we kind of thought this was going to be last week, so the whole week for me has just been preparing and trying to catch up and get I kind of like got a late start in the whole expertise thing. So I've been doing what, I'm not nowhere near the level you're on, but I've got I've been trying to get some things packed up so I have some casks open too. Trying to figure out finally, the game's going to force me into playing a particular role. So, versus the, tank or any kind of DPS role there is. So I'm both excited and feel a little odd about that. But the most fun thing I just did was just right now. I had to leave. I was talking to you guys. I had to leave because I was running a pug and trying to help some folks out who were, it was a new tank, someone trying to learn how to tank. And I like helping people out, everyone, we've all been there. And I was in the last boss of Gen from half health with just me and the healer for like 20 solid minutes of an old Nintendo game rotation, just up, down, move, dodge, over here, move, dodge, rocks, over here, go. Just over and over. The healer was amazing.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, that was that. My hands are sweaty, the mouse is sweaty, I need a beer, but that was fun. This game offers that kind of fun.
Hell yeah.
In times you don't even expect it when you're just helping somebody else. So I'm sure we'll talk more about as we're looking at this stuff. So I'll probably relate some of the things I've been doing this week to that. But that was the funnest thing I've done all week.
So what you're saying is you were palm sweaty, mom spaghetti, farting confetti. Yeah.
That's right.
Hell yeah. And I gotta say, whenever you say like, "Hey, this healer was awesome," okay, fine, but they weren't half as good as Cinnamon Ring. Cinnamon Ring is the uber healer. The uber healer. You know what? I thought you were gonna.
Everybody should have a Cinnamon Ring.
I thought you were gonna count. Well, never mind. You know what? I'm not gonna go. Not gonna explain what that name means. I thought you were gonna call out when you said the fun stuff. Yesterday we took a turn. I swapped out my weapon set, and I let you tank Laz, and I swapped over to Bruiser, and that was some fucking fun. I think we should do that more often, where like we'll do it like one day I do all the tanking and you do DPS, and then the next day you do all the tanking and I do DPS. It's fun to just mix it up a little bit, have some fun with it.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. I had a blast. I think it's fun because we both run things a little differently, so it's a fresh look every time you go. Plus, you helped me out a ton because I was able to put more luck gear on and try to get some of those drops, so I appreciate that.
Hell yeah. All right, Sword, what have you been doing having fun in New World this week, man?
I've been collecting the gypsum casts for the update. We had discussed this last week, and I just continued. I just checked my inventory, and my 3 main weapons I've got up to 600: spear, musket, and rapier. I have 8 casts of each ready to drop, and should be 16 assorted casts out of the armor set and jewelry, which, according to my calculations, should get me up to 618 on both spear and rapier before I start opening those casts.
I checked earlier today. I was at like 122 boxes, and I've got 5 right now. I'm in Great Cleave. I've got 5 that I'm popping right now, so that'll be 127. I am so psyched for this shit to come out. Hell yeah. All right. Wolf, what have you been doing fun? You have been power leveling. We've been taking you through as much as we can through the week and the weekend, and as soon as we're done with the show, we're taking you on another power level set. Your gear score has flown up in the last, 2 weeks, man. Why don't you tell us some fun shit you've been doing, some highlights for you of the week?
Yeah, it's been a hell of a ride. We've been doing everything really possible for me to get into the spot where I've gotten to. I just put all of my dungeon gear back on to have a look at it. I'm looking at a gear score of 590.
Hell yeah.
And the biggest things that I've got, going against me right now are just the grind for the jewelry, man. That stuff does not want to drop in the dungeon. So I'm popping 5 casts a day, one on each of my great axe and the warhammer, because that's the primaries that I use in Laz and Gen. And then one each on all the jewelry. And, I've been able to pick up a smooth bone ring or two. I picked up one last night, so now that's up to 562. So, a nice little boost to strength with the buffs it's got on it. So can't complain about that too much. But yeah, I've just been having a blast running these dungeons over and over again, learning the exact strategies, and where can we pick up a little bit of time here? How can we do this a little bit better, just so that when we get to the point where I can jump into the mutators and not have that, hey, you're not gear score whatever, here's the line, and you get a debuff. So it's like I'm not dragging everybody down, but by the time I'm there and we're ready to go, it's like, yeah, I know what to do. Let's just fucking roll.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Awesome. I want to give a huge, quick shout out. I know this is not space stuff, but we got Astro, Down to Earth Astronomy, in the chat live. I love fucking Astro's content. Yeah, he does space stuff, so it's space stuff, and he also does Factorio or whatever. But mostly he is focused right now on the Elite Dangerous and the Star Citizen. He just put out a couple of fire videos in the last week. He did FDev's Console Dilemma and a HOTAS face-off. Go check them out. Just much love. Got to call out a content creator who's joining us live, who puts out, I mean, let's be honest, I feel like we put out pretty good content of just shooting the shit, whatever. This guy puts out scientific, well thought out, way higher quality content. So go check him out for your space game needs, legit. All right. So without further ado, we've covered what we've done for fun this week. Let's get into the big news of the week. We're basically going to cover just one issue all week. We talk about different stuff episode by episode, but this week is going to be all about the February update and, having shit prepped and ready, and what's coming to us tomorrow morning. I'm so excited. So everybody in the cast has the New World February update pulled up. It is happening tomorrow. They're taking the servers down for 2 hours at 8 a.m. Eastern. So, yeah, let's go through it. World experience, notable bug fixes. We're going to skip most of this, but basically, they've done a lot of fixes for Taxodius, can't be killed and looted twice. That was a exploit. Addressed missing collision stuff. Fixed an issue in Starstone Barrows where the Ancient Guardians animation intro. Fixed an issue, joining an expedition from another expedition entrance. Just little stuff. On world stuff, fix stuff where with camps, and fix some stuff with the Ancient AI and Shamagaki and Sunken Aspect POIs. Just little things here. Piles of floating stuff sometimes, and where there would be a rock missing here or that, whatever. Then under General AI, Let's start with Arc. Let's have you read through these and just kind of selectively pull out some stuff, because I know this actually includes some big things with when you're tanking or whatever, getting pushed around and lots of stuff that changes. So why don't you run us through that one quick?
Okay, let me.
Under the subheading of General UI, under
Yep.
World Experience.
Yep, I got it.
Cool.
Yeah, so man, I think this is so introduce new player physics and condition system that'll significantly reduce amount of pushback. So I noticed this in PvE, right, and PvP, right? In this expedition I just did, if there's a lot of melee dudes on the boss, and I'm having opal gem in, right? I'm trying to add dodges in my rotation. Boy, I've noticed it's sometimes it's hard for me. You get a bunch of it's a bunch of the sort of cats trying to get to the teat, right? Everyone's trying to get in there and do their thing, and you keep just banging into one another. So I'm hoping. I mean, I haven't been to the PTR at all. It says that for most kind of simple shaped creatures, like most of the ones that you fight in these mobs in the trash packs, that it should help the collision, reduce the collision, or how much you get knocked back. I think about those. I don't know if it's the same as maybe those hives that are in Gen. If it's going to be sort of the same, how it's almost impossible to hit it without sort of swinging your way straight through it and on top of the pile. So I'm hoping that kind of works. You want me just to keep going down the other bullets, like the improved AI target evaluation?
Yeah, just take this section.
Okay. Yeah, so again, I haven't been to PTR, but it sounds like, and from some of the content creators I watch, it sounds like that's going to be something that really helps you sort of not get knocked around all the time, so you're just out of position. So that's going to be I think a positive overall thing in the game, and it's going to be one of those things because a lot of people have been talking about, like, it's just bugs and weird fixes, no new content or whatever. But I think this is going to be one of those things that's really noticeable right away, in both PvP and PvE. So yeah, I think this is going to be a sort of good one that we see fixed. Then just going a little bit down, it got the improve the AI target evaluation rhythm. Some instances of AI attacking with.
So this is a situation where, like, we've seen it before, like especially when we're doing church for Topaz and Obsidian. I throw an axe, it hits a ghost, and then for some reason the ghost charges off in the other direction at a dude that was running there that did absolutely nothing. They're trying to kind of do a better job of figuring out how the AI is going to assign what it wants to aggro and whatnot.
Yeah, and that'd be it'd be great too, man. I hate, if you got a ranged enemy and you're on top of a box or whatever, it'll fire at you. If you got a melee entity, it just goes away. I don't think this is going to fix that, but it'd be nice if this is the general direction of adjusting and tweaking the AI, just to help kind of, what stops them from making a zombie or anything else from just climbing up on a box and just fighting with you on top of the box. I think it'll get rid of a lot of the little dupe where you run to an area, then you jump up and you de-aggro everybody. So I don't know, but maybe it's the path in the right direction for that.
Oof, that would be a thing that if they fix that, you would get a lot of people that like to solo farm the chests and use, the either stealth and or resets and whatever. Boy, that would make a lot of those guys mad. But I'm not saying that it would be a bad idea. It would just, boy, a lot of those guys would be mad. Hell yeah.
I'm with you. I'm one of them, so I'm with you. It's a double-edged sword. So reduce the pushback on block for most enemy creatures. Yeah, I'm not really. I don't know that I see this too much.
Oh, for tanking, let me tell you,
tanking.
It definitely So part of the classic MMO situation is you have the Holy Trinity. You have the tank whose job it is to A, take all of the hits, and B, position mobs to where the DPS can get behind it and do their crits. And the way that these mobs push, I know you've seen it before, where especially in like some of that one boss where I pull him to the side in Genesis, and sometimes he gets in a situation where he pushes me into a corner, and now there's no way, like there's no back for you guys. You have to hit him from the side. So having it to where it pushes less will help the tanks to position better, which means it'll help the DPS to do their job better.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That does happen. You get moved around and you're trying to trying to keep everyone, in a general direction, or you're getting the boss is moving you back into like some green shit on the ground or something like that, right? And you can't,
Mm-hmm.
you have no choice. So it looks like that, that's good. That's again, I wish I had time to test this thing in the PTR, but I didn't. So that looks like a good one. Corrupted Ogre, fixed an issue causing the ball spells damage. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know if anyone has anything they saw that particular one. I'm not even sure I know what a corrupted ogre is.
So like Ivan is a corrupted ogre. So
Okay.
I mean, but not all of them have that,
Yeah.
like the ball spell or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, generally this one probably isn't the biggest one you'll notice. Let's see, Tried Soldier fixed an issue that could cause the soldier to repeatedly spam his empower ability. Yeah. I mean, these are ones I don't think most of us recognize too much. Elemental Bears reduce the rate in which elemental bears regenerate stamina. Meh. Swamp Dried Soldier fixed an issue causing the Swamp Dried Soldier's downward slam. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know about y'all, but like some of these things are just, and by the way, our group, not the toot our own horn, we put down a serious amount of DPS when we're out there. So most of these things don't even have a chance to get these things off.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm guessing it's going to help, maybe some folks when they're soloing, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Undead Navigator self buff will now properly show. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of
Silent
these.
Arena.
I think a lot of these we're just going to sum up as like they made a bunch
Yep.
of good sort of general AI fixes for little like corner cases, little off things. But the big one from that we really needed to hit is so quadrupeds they haven't got to yet, but for future updates we'll handle quadrupeds. But for bipedal, so anything that's a humanoid shape, they're going to push the tanks a whole lot less, and that's going to be way better. For just tanks will be able to, if they're a good tank, position better, which now puts in a position that the DPS can do their job better. So
Yeah, just maybe to close this section out, like you said the right word right there. This looks like a big section on positioning, which we know in this game means the world. I mean, whether it's PvP, PvE, it doesn't matter. Positioning is critical. The best players know how to position themselves, and it looks like they're making a lot of moves in the right direction to allow the player to have more control of their positioning.
yeah, absolutely. I'm going to take the next section. It's Expedition AI. So this is literally just the dungeons, some of the AI changes, and I'm gonna paraphrase and sum this up kind of quickly because it's like we want to get on to other points. But so for Garden of Genesis, the Blighted Greenskeeper, his headshot area is going to be much larger so that it's easier for ranged DPS to headshot him. For the Shaman, they fixed the visual effects so that it's going to sync with the damage. With the Angry Earth Naga, it's going to improve the visibility of the attacks of VFX. Now, the Angry Earth Naga, that's the last boss. I don't know why they called her that in this way. But we've already seen in the last patch, in the January patch, because when we did Garden of Genesis before, the first time when we did it, it was like, what the hell is going? Like, you couldn't see the balls on the ground would leave the trail. You couldn't see so much the area of bad, where she would hit you with the big circle of death and then you had to run away from everybody. You could definitely see the hula at that point, which was when she does her spinning the head animation and then like you have to get behind the rocks or everything's going to explode. We call it hula because she's doing a little hula with her hips. You could see that one, but everything else was just bad. I think the January patch more or less fixed all of this, but they're saying they're going to take a second pass of even doing a better job of visibility for it. So, hey, hats off, whatever. Chartis, I'm just going to sum this up. There's a whole paragraph here, but I'm just going to sum this up in saying Chartis was a joke. They're making it harder. And you know what? Hats off, they needed to. Chartis is the last boss, theoretically, in all of New World at this point, and he is a loot pinata. He is a joke. I'm not even sure how you could fail that fight. I don't, honestly, if you look at when you're first starting, when you haven't got it on farm, the first big boss of that fight, which is, what's her name? Scylla. Scylla is the hardest boss in the game. And then you get to Chartis and it's just like, I'm literally holding down right trigger. I do my abilities when they're up and I'm either eating enchiladas or drinking a beer with the other hand, because it's just like this fight is nothing. So they're gonna do some stuff to make it an actual fight. Like, and I mean, we'll see tomorrow. Like, we'll see what the changes are. But I salute that, because the quote unquote final boss of the game so far should not be a loot pinata. So like, that's great. Any thoughts you guys have on any of the stuff that either Ark or I discussed before we move on?
One thing
I would-
Go ahead,
I would
Sword first.
definitely. Go ahead.
One thing I'll plug with Chartis, and for everybody who's been using those invincibility spots, the 2 spots slightly on the right-hand side
They're fixing
in
that.
Chartis' arena, they're going away.
Mm-hmm. Wolf?
I definitely want to see Chartis become something a little bit better than a loot pinata, because it, like you said, like I get an Xbox controller. I'm just holding it with the one hand, and like I could be writing notes or doing something completely different, not playing the game, and it's like, oh, yep, that button's up.
Dude, when we get
And
to
now that
Chartis,
button's up.
I hold down right trigger. I look every once in a while at the screen to hit my, rotation of abilities, and I'm just watching Amazon on the second screen. Maybe they put that in there so that people would watch more Amazon Prime videos. I don't know. But I'm happy for this change. So now we get to mutators. Sword, why don't you run through the mutators?
All right. Reduced desiccated timer from 60 seconds to 45 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I don't know enough about the mutators to determine whether this is a good thing for us or a bad thing for us.
So basically, Desiccated is a debuff that you get, and they were feeling like it was a little too strong, so they lowered it by a quarter. They're just making shots. Go ahead.
All right, the next one is normalized curse damage to ensure that curses are always a threat to players of any health pool side.
So
Size.
the thing with that is basically they would have curses, and the way it was said, it was X hit points are, you get cursed by X hit points. You lose X hit points on the tick, and as such, that could be hard on DPS. That could be hard on healers. That was a joke to tanks, because we have so much hit points that it's like, oh, you're going to take off 1,000? But they're saying, no, it's going to be a percentage of your health, so that every person in the party has an equal hard time with that. That's a good change, I feel.
Agreed.
Definitely levels the playing field.
Next one, Sword.
Would you like me to go on to combat?
Yes. Keep. There was more stuff under mutators. Oh, nope. You're right. It's the censored and the desiccated. It's showing that it's by percentage. Wolf, why don't you do combat and just kind of go through and sort of read the paragraphs and sum them up, like, sort of quickly.
Alrighty. Combat. General. Weapon swapping. You can now swap weapons during hit reactions, dodges, traversal, and while using consumables except weapons coatings.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to interrupt them. There's a 1-second swap between in those cases. Weapon swap buffers will no longer be canceled if you're staggered before the swap can occur. Weapon swaps and attacks can now be queued simultaneously, so if you press swap during attack's recovery, then immediately press an ability, the weapon will swap. At the first swap, cancel frame, then immediately perform the desired ability. I really like that part.
Yep.
Note that actions still have buffer and cancel windows. This change just makes them easier to use and more reliable. Do we want to keep going or talk about that part?
So this entire
'Cause the weapon
section,
swaps are fantastic.
this entire section on weapon swapping and sort of the way that combat feels, to me, can be summed up in one sentence, and that sentence is, everything that felt janky about combat before, like 90% of it, is not going to feel janky anymore. They're doing a much better job of like making it feel smooth and fluid and giving players the ability to control their characters. So instead of I'm locked into an animation of a thing and then, oh shit, I got to block, I can't block. Or oh shit, I got to dodge, I can't dodge because the animation lock, they're literally just fixing it to make everything in combat feels smooth and fluid and give players the control to choose what they want to do as situations sort of develop. That's my viewpoint on it. Anybody else?
All I'll say is I'm really looking forward to this. I can't count the number of times where I've gotten ribbed for doing riposte when fighting Chartist.
Yeah, well, so part of that is because you might do a riposte and then want to, like, whatever, but a huge part of that is just weapons lag when swapping, and then you queue up an ability, and you think you're queuing up an ability for weapon 2, but you're actually queuing up an ability for weapon 1 because there was some weird jankiness around the weapon swap itself, yeah?
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yep, sounds exactly like what had happened there.
All right, roll on to the next part.
We got dodging and blocking. Dodging is something I do a whole bunch with those opals that I have.
Hell yeah.
Shorten the recovery time for all the dodges. Transitioning to movement after a dodge should feel more fluid for all players now. Yay. Basic attack startups for both melee and range can now be dodge and block canceled up to 2 frames before the first active frame. For melee attacks, the first active frame is the first frame the weapon can deal damage, and for range attacks, this is the first frame that the projectile is spawned.
So
Neat.
So basically, summing up this part, it's still a continuation of what I just said, which is the players, and we'll just cut that section at this. The players have more ability to choose what they want to do, whether it's in dodging, weapon swapping, blocking, any of these things. It's now, you're not locked into animation shit as much, and you have the ability to go, I wanted to do this ability. Oh shit, boss is doing a whatever, I gotta dodge. You have the ability. You're not locked in. I would sum up this entire section as giving players more control of their character and locking them into shit less. And all of that, I think, is super worthwhile. Specifically, I'd love to hear from Ark, because Ark has been historically much more of the PvP player. I'm starting to get super into PvP, but Ark has been into PvP from jump. I'd like to hear your thoughts on how giving the players more ability to control their character, millisecond by millisecond, and locking them into shit less is a boon for the sort of fun and playability and feeling like you have control of your character of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, players right away in this game already figured out a bunch of stuff on how to get a little bit more out of the character, right? And like, for example, the light armor or pretty much or any armor, weapon swap and the dodge roll, for example,
Mm-hmm.
just to get that little more speed, a little more, right? You're just trying to tweak it every little bit you can. But the good PvP players are all about stun burst. That's what you do, right? That's if you're a damage or melee damager particularly, and it requires both weapon bars, right? So like you don't know how many times I have someone dead to rights, and either think I'm on the right weapon bar, and like you'll see something like when I've got like my my spear and bow, and I'll be super far away from somebody, and then all of a sudden, like you see me do a sweep, and I'm like, what the shit, you know what I mean? And so I thought I was on the bow trying to do a penetrating shot, and instead I was on the spear,
Mm.
or I missed the stun and do an attack. It's because it's a particular rotation type that you have to do to make this work,
Mm-hmm.
and it requires dodges and rotations, and if you're maximizing your gain, so what this is going to do is going to really take away the frustration that a player feels when they have a really good setup against a player. You're at a part of your rotation where you've got them stunned or you got them to a kill. You've got kill potential, meaning that you can hit the next with your next combo. You have enough to kill the player, and then something goes wrong and you miss it.
Mm.
That feeling is complete dog poop, and it kills the game. So this, as you mentioned, it looks a lot like they're giving the player more control of their build, and it's going to let everybody kind of be able to transition through their weapon, their both of their weapons and their rotation just much easier. And that's true also in PvE, by the way, because there's also PvE rotations for sustained DPS, and
Mm-hmm.
this kind of thing can easily cause you to hit the wrong button. Like as a tank, imagine that you blow your taunt when you didn't need to, and you
Mm-hmm.
needed that main taunt for a second over. Now you've just caused the whole group to wipe because of a thing. So anyway, good all around. I think this is gonna be leaps and bounds forward.
When you, as a player, whether it's tank, DPS, healer, whatever, when you die or cause a wipe or just in any way have adversity because you chose poorly, you chose wrong, that's okay, because that's like, all right, I can do something better next time. I can learn, I can improve my skills. When you feel like you died because of you were locked into a thing and then Scylla does her, drop circles on the ground and you don't get out because you're locked, your sword, and you're locked into a flurry, or your wolf and you're locked into that whatever 5-swing hatchet jobby, and you're like, shit, she just did a thing. I got to get out. And I'm sitting here watching. I know I have 5 seconds to get out, and I'm locked for the next 4 seconds into this animation. That just feels bad. So, like, this is such a huge quality of life fix, because it's like, now when you die, you can do better next time, as opposed to, well, I died and there was nothing I could do there. I got screwed by the game. I did not have autonomy. I did not have the power of controlling my character because I was locked into a thing. So that this cannot be sort of overemphasized how important that is. So let's get into, there's more stuff with the jumping that has changes. They fixed a thing with the attribute jobby for the 300 focus. That's been a thing for forever, where, let's be honest, the bonus for 300 focus was dog shit. They've done multiple rounds of things to make that better. There's multiple bug fixes with regard to that, where, like, they fix issues with some of the AoE attacks were, not working if you went prone. Like, there's a lot of little things that allowed people to game the system, and they're fixing that. Next up, we've got Bose, Fire Staff, Great Axe, Hatchet, Life Staff, Musket. I'm going to sum Rapier, Spear. I'm going to sum all this up by saying they did little tweaks based on what they're seeing to make things a little bit better. They fixed an exploit that people were using for a long time with Hatchet. They removed some things where Ice Gauntlet was like overpowered, because, like, Ice Storm and the what was the thing where you shoot out that little straight line in front of you and then it blows up with the ice spikes. Some of the stuff was overpowered because it wasn't acting properly. They fixed that. They fixed, beacon, speed of light. They did some stuff with life staff. Musket, they've made some changes. Rapier, Rapier is a big one that they changed here. With Rapier, it was overly strong, not on the damage side. It was fine on the damage side. It's very good damage, but it also requires you to be a little, like, careful in how you play it. But it was just way too goddamn strong on the use it as a second weapon to get out of trouble. Like, if you fought a Rapier player in Outpost Rush, they could always get away from you. There's nothing you could do about it. And unless you get like 4 or 5 on 1, there was just no shot that you had of stopping them. So this they're trying to make changes to sort of balance that. For Spear, they made some changes, not that too big a deal. Sword and Shield, same deal. Void Gauntlet, it was a little Mending Evasion. Maybe it was a little too strong. And then they say they made some changes with perks that are actually pretty big. And I'm just going to sum this up. There's like 15 lines here. We're not going to go through it and spend an hour and a half on this, but definitely look into your perks, because some of the things that they've changed around are going to make some of these perks super, super strong. And some of the perks that previously were super strong, maybe a little more balanced. So perks, you need to look into your perks and your stuff. Why don't we have Ark hit up the war and invasion changes, and then and also just sum up. I don't want to take an hour and a half on the Outpost Rush changes, but just give a summation of the highlights of Outpost Rush. I know you're very well aware with regard to the scoring is going to be a little different, and also it's going to give out way better rewards. Go ahead, Ark.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so war invasions. Yeah, I mean, I don't run a lot of invasions, so again, like this, some of these things I don't know how critical
Mm.
they are. You know, fix an issue, the Void Destroyer could survive after both his eyes are destroyed.
So basically,
Um,
what people were doing, just to give you, because I have run a ton of invasions, just to clarify that, what we would do is we would kill the right eye, then kill the left eye, and then leave the head up. And the reason for that is if the right eye and left eye were killed, that's all like it had then no ability to attack. Then you would leave the head up because so long as the head was up, no other head could spawn. It was sort of maybe a little exploity of like, now this thing is doing no damage, but we're going to leave it parked there so that nothing else can get at us. And it was making invasions, I think, maybe a little easier than intended with regard to that enemy. Go ahead, Art.
yeah. So then another one fixed the cleansing elixir removal, but not properly preventing the reapplication of debuffs during its duration. Again, this is another one of those things. We know there's been a huge problem, which is buffs and debuffs and like how they are worked. One of the ones I like is like this one and another one in OPR. Just it's simple, but players can now access a scoreboard while waiting to respond.
Mm-hmm.
You got a little bit of a
Yes.
response wait there, and like normally this is a good chance for you to take a look and see kind of where you're standing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone likes to do it. It's why you play a game like that. So you know for that and it's in Outpost Rush, that's going to be a really good thing
Mm-hmm.
for people to take a look at. Now, as
Right.
far as Outpost Rush, I'm just going to kind of go over sort of, as you say, the main core of sort of things that are going here. I'm not going to worry about the different, you know, PvE oriented dudes, other than the fact that you're going to get less points for killing NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
But the big one is
And
right. I mean,
players. And players.
Right now we all know is that the healers kind of get or lead the charts for the most part,
Of
and
course.
then like the next big thing you can get is having that final death hit.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, you know, it's back and forth. Some people steal those, but for the most part, it's just a scrum up in there, and you're you know if you're using AOE ability and someone just downs somebody, you're gonna get the kill. I mean, whatever. But putting it up to damage is going to be interesting. I'd be interested to see how they rate the points as a whole because you know, it's very easy to have a good game and only do about 150, 180,000, but then
100.
you can have monster games and be up in the 400, 500,000 mark. So
Mm-hmm.
it's be interesting to see how this works out. I think it probably will need more tweaking a little bit as it goes, but ultimately I think this is a great change.
Mm-hmm.
As you mentioned, you know switching the damage from also not getting you're not getting a lot as many points from getting the actual player kills. So hopefully people will stop, you know, just looming around trying to snoop other people's kills. That said, you know, I wish they would have made. I wish they would have made what they consider a kill the player that downed the player versus got the final tap in.
Well, but
Because
even then, there's a situation where you do 90% of the damage, and I run along at the very end and do that last hit to quote unquote down him. You know, that could also, you know,
yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is I wish they'd make it in a way because people still care about how many kills they get. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a
100%.
game, like that's what people play the game, and like people are still gonna care about that. So it'd be nice if they made like when a dude downs, whatever dude or gal did the most amount of damage
Mm-hmm.
when they fail the first time should get the kill. They should do it something like that. But
See, I
anyway,
agree.
it
I
was
agree
a
'cause
step in the
that's
right direction.
what you had said was whoever gets that last hit, and I agree that it's exactly the second thing you said, which is whoever did the majority of the damage. That 100% I agree with that. If you do 90% of the damage, and I come along with that hit that does the last 1 point of hit points, and now I get the kill, that's not fair. You're the one that did the work. That is
Yeah, no,
just as
I
bad.
misspoke.
Yeah, yeah.
I meant the I brought him down, but
Hmm.
he's still revivable, and then someone else comes and gets that last hit from there, and they get the
That's just
kill.
as bad. Yeah.
And that's how it is now. That's how it
Hmm.
will be still, except for the points be different. If they could make it that the kill actually comes from the first time you fall versus the second time,
Hmm.
and then also that from the first time you fall and you get and it's whoever put the most damage, that
I
would be the
agree.
best ultimate. But they're headed in the right direction, so
100%.
that's a good thing.
100%.
Um, So also the rewards, right? Like again, like why is no one playing OPR? Right, you can take it back to basic marketing, right? Like if you're doing a marketing mix on a product, it doesn't offer much value, right? If
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't offer much value, people don't buy the product. People aren't playing the products because other than the gypsum, it doesn't offer much value. And currently, you spend, even if you get a good run, you're going to spend 45 minutes to an hour
Mm-hmm.
getting your one gypsum,
Mm-hmm.
where in that amount of time you can get 4 gypsum just by doing your topaz, name boss, Jupiter bag,
Completely
and
agree.
crafting things. So this is a good thing. They're adding faction points. They're adding they've increased the chance that you can get named item. They've got PvP quote unquote specific gear. And what's really cool about that is people don't understand. So you got a loot roll when something comes out, right? And right now the loot roll is anything. You can get Beast Ward, you can get Beast Bane, you get all this weird shit that you don't need for
You
PvP.
can literally get logging luck or mining
That's right.
luck.
So what happens? You take all that stuff out, and what you've done is you've now increased the chance, right? The percentage of you getting something useful for PvP.
Mm-hmm.
So just a lot of people are like, oh, okay, they took that out. Yeah, but you took that out. You took a bunch of shit out of the loophole, so you've now increased your chances of actually getting a necessary item in PvP. So that's great. The shards are great. Now you don't have to. You don't want to be a PvE player? Fine. It'll take you a lot longer, but you could theoretically, um, you know, just do a ridiculous amount of outpost rush and get your stuff up.
And just to be
So
clear, because he said shards, for those of you listening that are like, shards, what shards? He's saying umbrals. That is the lead there, right? Where the up until tomorrow, if you want to get umbral shards, you have exactly 2 ways of doing it. Number 1, craft stuff that is item level 600 when you already have 600 expertise to give you a really ridiculously small level of shards. Or number 2, do gypsum. So, which is every last piece of gypsum, with the exception of Outpost Rush, is PvE content. So what he just said, that the lead story of here is, number 1, they're fixing how they score it. But number 2, even more important or just as important, is they are now going to allow you as a PvP player to get your umbrals, to meaningfully improve and like level up your character to that 625 gear score. Sorry, go ahead, Art.
yep. No, I mean, like again, I would equate this whole thing down to adding value to the thing. Beyond that, they're going to give a 2.5% chance that you can get a named item in Outpost Rush. They're significantly, again, we don't know what that is, but it says significantly increasing the likelihood that you can get expertise. So
Mm-hmm.
what does that mean? That's another big boom, right? So if you're a new player, and you want to freaking you want to bump up your expertise score. You don't have to just do chest runs or run expeditions. You have an opportunity to get them from these crates.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great thing. I mean, so like it's just a ton of value added now for playing, a ton of rewarding experience for doing well for DPS, which has been down and should
Mm-hmm.
have people less, kind of headhunty to some extent,
Mm-hmm.
at least. The other big one too, Kai, I really like is they really, really buffed. So anyone who plays Outpost Rush a lot knows that it's gone through just a myriad of metas in terms of how teams play.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that never really materialized, it would have been great if it did, would have been siege weapons, right? Like the siege weapons or the fortification weapons.
Mm-hmm.
If you got some cannons in midfield, you've got some opportunity for oil. So they've really buffed all of those different weapons, you know, and increase the amount of DPS they can do on summoned creatures. So it really adds a whole bunch more value to maybe putting up some of those turrets and such on the forts.
And
So
that
that I feel like that's some walk in the direction of trying to get players to utilize all of what Outpost Rush offers versus the kind of Zerg train where it sort of is now.
And the other thing that you didn't mention, because it's not explicitly stated anywhere in the notes, but I think it needs to be called out because it's a huge boon to the Outpost Rush specifically, is this. All of these changes in basically making sure you get better credit for your effort and rewarding you for engaging in the content altogether. What all of these taken in conjunction mean is, if you're queuing for Outpost Rush, it should be significantly more viable, more valuable, more of a thing that you want to do, because whereas before, if the system didn't pay out sort of fairly and properly, so you got pissed off and you didn't want to do it, and the system gave you shit, content rewards of, it didn't give you really good expertise bumps, so you wanted to play it less. It gave you gear that you didn't want, so you wanted to play it less. It didn't give you any umbrals, so you wanted to play it less. There was more sort of funneling by Amazon Game Studios. AGS was funneling you more into doing PvE content to advance your character. Whereas now you have a real and viable way to advance your character through PvP, which, let's face it, there's a lot of players that love this game because of PvP. They don't want to do the PvE. That's what they want. And I feel like it wasn't explicitly stated, but it's very heavily implied, and to me it needs to be called out as a boon for this game of, Amazon Game Studios just said, hey, you people who don't want to play the game maybe necessarily the way that we have it designed, but you want to just be free to do your own thing. You want to say, I do PvP constantly and fuck everything else. Okay, you can meaningfully advance your character that way. As a result, I think you're going to see for a considerable while in the future, you're going to see Outpost Rush queues be significantly less. So if you're in a situation where 10 times more players are queuing up for Outpost Rush, maybe many times a day, or maybe just, 3 or 4 times a day, that's just going to make it to where instead of having to wait sometimes, like if you go in off-peak hours, sometimes you have to wait a half an hour for an Outpost Rush. In peak times, maybe you wait 5-10 minutes. In off-peak times, maybe you wait a half an hour. The ability for a player who's, sort of casual, they're not on all day, but they want to jump on and play, I had dinner, I now have like 2 hours to do what I want, and then, I'm going to spend some quality time with the wife, we're going to watch, the show, I'm going to read my kids their bedtime story, whatever. The ability to meaningfully say, I don't give a fuck about PvE, I only care about PvP, I want to do my thing. That is a thing you cannot discount. That has a great value.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so that takes. Go ahead.
That about covers it.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say that about covers it, I think.
Yeah, that takes us to quests. Wolf, why don't you sum up quests?
Gotta alt tab, because I only have one screen. Notable fixes to quest. Improve the third fishing quest baited by ensuring the baits are more easily caught, which I remember was a pain. And they must be salvaged.
It was the clam and the whatever. Yeah, the saltwater and the freshwater. Yeah.
Such a pain. And now you catch the thing and salvage it to get it rather than it just automagically appearing in your inventory. This change makes a whole lot of sense. War camp loot PvP faction missions now reset when fast traveling because you're supposed to be on foot so you can get caught, so that makes sense. Asking First Light faction representative about die will no longer block players from subsequent quests.
Whoa,
yeah,
that's a weird bug.
That was a weird bug, and that's an oof, because a lot of those faction missions you got to get done before you can do some of the regular storyline things.
But now, as of tomorrow, it's fixed.
And here's one that I've been waiting for. The betaless headpiece item can now be properly looted to complete the quest. So I've been stuck with the betaless headpiece thing saying, go enter Lazarus. I've been in Lazarus, what,
50
100 times now?
Yeah.
It's still like, nope, sorry, you haven't been there. We can't do the things. Like, I'd like to finish this because I'm pretty certain that this is one of those either Great Cleave or Reekwater missions that when I turn it in, I'm now going to get a gypsum for free.
Nice.
And I've missed out on a few of those, but not all of them.
Just to clarify, that's not Great Cleave. That's Shattered Mountain or Reekwater. But you're absolutely
Shattered
right.
Mountain.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
It's one of those. I think it was one of the Shattered Mountain ones. But either way, getting a gypsum for doing those high level quests to help you with your expertise stuff, awesome.
Hell yeah.
Evan Scale Alligator's quest can now be completed without resetting. I didn't notice that an issue, but maybe I haven't done it yet.
Wait, that's the one. No, I took you to do that. That's the one where you get the really cool tier 4 bag for killing those alligators.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah.
Maybe for some people it's an issue. Whatever. Good mazel
Maybe.
tov. You're fixing something. Cool.
Yep. Optional Siren Tuning Orb now drops properly during Long Live the Queen quest. I know I've got that quest. We need to do it, and hey, I'll get an orb. Awesome.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Adjusted the difficulty of the final enemy in Shivering Timbers.
Okay.
Map markers added to ensuring the investment part 2. I think this is one of them where you have to run around to a couple different places, and it didn't really tell you where to go. So that's a nice quality of life fix.
Bro, I've done every quest.
Paths unseen.
I've done every quest in this game, but I didn't pay attention to what most of the names were. So I'm like, there's a lot of times where you're like, hey, ensuring the whatever, and I'm like, maybe? I don't. There's a lot of quests. There are some quests where, I'm not going to lie, they were high-level quests where, like, shit was screwed. It didn't tell me where to go, and I just Googled that shit and found out where to go and then got it done. But, like, if you're making it better for your players to be able to play the content as it's intended and not have to, like, go to Google, mazel tov. Good for you. I'm down with that.
Yeah, token rewards updated for faction rank up quests. That's good. And map markers added for the Queen is Dead. So another one of those. Here's where you got to go. Do the thing you got to do.
Right on.
And that takes us to economy, progression, and rewards.
Sword, why don't you sum up those? Just sum them up, though. We don't have to go sort of exactly line by line.
Roger, I think the big one out of all of this is the 10% decrease in the amount of experience it takes to upgrade your crafting.
100%.
Yes.
I've heard from a lot of people, and especially in the company, that they were waiting for this change in particular to start doing crafting again.
I was the crazy person that did them all on the hardest setting possible before they've done multiple rounds of making things easier.
And you're not going to stop reminding us about that, Kai.
Yeah. When I was a kid, we walked into school uphill, both ways. Yeah.
All right, we've got a few reward changes.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, tier 5 muskets weren't dropping as quest rewards, weirdly.
As a musket player, I know that's got to piss you off.
I mean, I wasn't that worried. The best muskets are crafted in this game or drop from a very specific mob in a very specific dungeon.
Yep.
And something about tier 5 weapon schematics incorrectly displaying legendary rarity, even though they crafted epic items.
Yeah, there were a couple of them where people would be really mad because it said it was going to be a legendary spear or a legendary, whatever, and then you would make it and it would come out epic, and you'd be like, I was promised legendary? Yeah, for sure. I think summing up this one, is there anything else that you had that you were going to cover on this or not?
Apart from reducing the effectiveness of fishing bots. No.
Yes. Okay. So that one has me. Let's address that one. That one, I'm like, the fuck? Because they literally said in the notes, we're going to reduce the efficiency of fishing bots. Now, the word efficiency there, I don't think should be in that sentence, because I don't understand how you reduce the efficiency of fishing bots. I think your goal should be reduce the fishing bot, like get rid of the bots. If you're saying like we're going to allow the bots to continue, but they're not going to be as good as they were, I'm like, you're missing the point. So I'm going to go ahead and say that maybe that was misworded or poorly chosen wording from Amazon Game Studios, and what they, I hope, mean to say is, we're going to make it to where there's less fishing bots. But like, yeah. The main thing
got it worded makes it seem to me like they're using the bot is quote unquote playing the game the same way we play the game. So if they're reducing the efficiency of how the bot plays the game, that would be
reducing
it more difficult to us.
Yeah, So I hope that what we're looking at here is, they're going to just attack fishing bots. They're going to, continue to do, because they've said specifically they've got GMs in game now that are running around like, I think specific, they what was it? They called it their bot bash initiative. That's what they said on the February update. So they're going to be trying to smash bots, and I salute them for it. But if I were to sum up my feelings on the quote unquote economy changes, here's what they're doing. Make all crafting and gathering sort of a little bit easier, except for once you're already level 200, make cooking a little bit harder to get the aptitude chests, make fishing way easier in general because fishing was a little too hard. All of that I look at and go, yep, I strongly agree. I strongly agree that crafting should be a little bit easier. Is it a situation? There's a tendency of some gamers to get all soggy and pissy and be like, well, I had to do it and it was super, super hard, so it should be hard for you. And it's like, no, you have to, don't be a fucking 5-year-old and be petulant. Take yourself out of the scenario and just look at what's good for the long-term health of the game. And for the long-term health of the game, crafting was way too hard. So yes, make it a little bit easier for people. Even though I've already suffered, that doesn't mean other people should suffer as much. Make the game fun. Make it a little effort for sure, but make it enjoyable. Make it less of a banging your head against the wall grind. With the exception of, again, as I said, cooking aptitude was way too easy. People were abusing it, so they're saying, hey, we want it to be a little bit harder for you. I agree, 100%. 100%. Fishing, they said, whoa, this is way too hard. Nobody's done it. Well, I've done it, but most people haven't done it. Most people that start leveling fishing give up. So I agree. Make it more fun for people to continue. You want more max level fishermen. Here's why, even if you've already done the effort yourself, you don't want it to be that nobody does fishing. Because if Amazon does the analytics on this and they say only 0.1% of our players have leveled up fishing, that's going to be less likely then for them to say, let's put effort into doing new, cool, fun stuff with fishing. Whereas if they make it a little easier, and now 20% of their players have got to max level fishing, they're like, hey, we have a customer base here we got to satisfy. Add in new fishing quests. Add in new fishing content of some kind. So with all of this, I strongly, strongly agree. Didn't the economy part also include the housing tax changes? Am I missing that? I'm playing the game right now, so I'm not looking at the thing.
Farther down the list.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So that's
remember they did the patch and then they did the PTR notes.
So that's my feelings on the economy changes. I want to quickly go around the horn, and anybody have any other feelings? Either you want to add on something I missed, or agree or disagree with anything I said on the economy changes section? No? All right.
No.
Not really, unless you want to troll comment about how fishing bots are a critical portion of the economy.
Wow. No, we don't want any troll comments. So that takes us to the notable bug fixes. Let's just say they fixed a lot of bugs and leave it at that. UX, UI, and social. Why don't you start with that, Wolf? That seems like a thing for you to do. They added in a new trade chat channel. That'll be cool. Hop in on that.
Yeah. Scroll to that. Yeah, new trade chat channel. Added a camp warning notification to alert the player when out of range or low on health from their camp or no camp. That's a nice little quality of life improvement. Added the ability to view a player's average score, their weapon mastery for their 2 equipped weapons, and their attribute allocations for stuff on the war board.
Put a little asterisk on that, because I know Ark's going to have some comments later on that one.
We're going to talk about that one. Players can now see both friendly and enemy progress towards the Brute at the Corrupted portal in Outpost Rush. So
that's
going
cool.
to tell you, hey, you might want to go cover that.
Nice.
Crafting screen should no longer select the first recipe if you quickly select another recipe while it is opening.
Nice.
Again, a little race condition they fixed.
Right on.
You want me to go on the notable fixes? Because this is a list.
Why don't we let anybody who has feelings on specifically that war board thing, Ark, this is your time.
On the note with the what he's seeing people's gear scores and such.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so like, we talked about this extensively kind of before the show started, and there's kind of two schools of thought, right? I mean, one of them is, Kai, you mentioned it. It's, to some people who have their stuff together and your gear score is the right place, and you might have a better chance of getting in invasions, in wars
Yep.
because you can show value in terms of like maybe not your player skill, but at least your knowledge, right? You can show that you know how to make a build. And that could be the defining factor between, whether somebody decides to bench some company men. I can tell you in my company, we just lost some, a couple of territories, and it used to be that they were focused on getting all company people in, and now they're more focused on we really have to just pick the players who give us the most opportunity to win.
Mm.
And neither one of those things are wrong, right? Some of them help build, develop players. Some of them help, just make sure the investment and the money you're spending and everything else is going to pan out for you.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is anyone who comes back from older WoW games, as Kai and I do, and other members of our company, from World of Warcraft, for example, is one of them. You can see everyone's gear score,
Mm-hmm.
and if you happen to be an elitist kind of dude, and you're and again, that elitist doesn't necessarily always mean a bad thing, but this is going to be a mechanism where you can simply disclude anybody from playing. And I think the problem is that while it gives players who are have all the right gear score and have that high 620 25 a better chance, that's the smaller margin of the actual players that are playing the game right now, and that doesn't do a lot for that huge grind. Like, it's great that they're adding 50% experience leveling. It's great that they're fixing all these things, but you still hit a wall at 600. It's not the wall that we hit, but it's a wall, and until you catch up, you're not going to be able to get into probably the biggest problem in New World right now: the fact that the current system basically locks the majority of its end game content. And what do I mean by that? I mean, other than Outpost Rush and normal expeditions, um, you know, the wars, the invasions, two major parts of the game are locked right now, unless you happen to be in a company and have end game gear.
So to
And
sum
that's
up,
tough.
what you just said, this makes it better. This change is better for people that are at the high end gear score to be able to get into wars when they're not in the companies that are the 1%ers that controls things. But it makes it worse for those players who are at the lower end of the gear score to catch up. And I completely agree with you. It's like this change is a good thing and a bad thing depending on where you sit on the spectrum. It will make it more egalitarian for some and less egalitarian for others. And so it's like, it's not a black and white thing of like, this is good or this is bad. It's like, this is a gray area that's going to work out differently for different people at different times. And I 100%, while I promoted the one idea of it could be a good thing for some people, I absolutely see, as you just said clearly, where it's going to be a bad thing for others, All right. That takes us to under the notable fixes. Players can no longer attempt to schedule their siege windows during a maintenance window. Okay. There's stuff where the trading post UI was doing weird things, and it's going to be better. Voiceover issues and lots of other little fix an issue where the PvP indicator icon was appearing while at war or an outpost rush. Lots of little sort of corner case things. If anybody has anything they really want to sort of call out from this list, please do so now. But it's a lot of little, little things. Like sometimes you would get a message from a GM. Again, they're doing this bot batch thing, and it was not showing up as from a GM, so you might ignore it, like, who's this guy? He's got no authority, whatever. And then it's like, well, it was a GM, and they're like, well, I guess you're not responding, so I guess you're whatever. Lots of sort of little, typos and little things. Anybody have anything they want to call out from that, or you want to move on? All right. So moving on to PTR notes. For the end game, Sword, why don't you hit these? And these are gonna be huge. So why don't you hit PTR end game notes and aptitude levels, and then we'll have Wolf take over general fixes.
All right, so first off, endgame, a yellow topaz no longer has a minimum drop time, and we know this as... Oh, dagnammit. Which one is yellow?
Yellow is topaz. It's the
Topaz.
ghosts when we go to church. It's the ghosts.
It's yellow gypsum, topaz gypsum. Thank you very much. I
Yes.
don't know why I blanked on that.
That's okay.
Obsidian gypsum, minimum drop time has been reduced from 10 minutes to 5 minutes. So
Ivan.
now every other Ivan
Yeah.
should drop an obsidian. That is
Could.
excellent.
Could.
Could.
Yes.
Amethyst gypsum, minimum drop time has been reduced from 2 minutes to 30 seconds.
Now, just to clarify, amethyst is the portal gypsum, the
Yes.
closing breaches. Go ahead.
Which, again, will make it faster and
So,
require fewer portals to necessarily get it.
so to be clear, sometimes if you have a group of like 3 parties and you're doing the small portals in an area, you can actually, in a minute time period, or a 2-minute time period, you could close 2. So that would literally just block you from getting it. By doing it as 30 seconds, when you add in the runtime, unless you happen to get some freak portal where you've got 8 groups and there's 2 of them that are so close to each other they're practically touching, I don't see how it's possible that you won't have at least a 30 seconds between each one. So basically now every portal breach you close has a chance to give you a gypsum, which is great. Every mob you kill that's 55 plus when you're at the church up there near Ivan, so all the ghosts, wolves, boars, everything, including Roz and whatever, everyone has a chance to give you. That's great. And it's going to be every other Ivan. I hope, this is a big thing, I hope that they have an unannounced change in there. We've all experienced it, those of us who do, the Topaz Obsidian runs regularly. I know, we all know, there's a fuckload of times where you have a 9 Topaz day, and that feels bad, man, because that means every once in a while you get stuck, every week or 2, you get stuck in a position where you don't have enough to make one today, and that sucks. But making these where they drop way faster, I think is great. It's just taking an action that people do every day for their gypsums that maybe takes an hour and making it to where it'll maybe take 20 minutes instead. That's just huge thumbs up from me. Anybody else on that one got any feelings before we let Wolf move or Sword move on to the other ones? Nope. Okay, go ahead.
The
Yep.
final piece in this section added a Gypsum Orb to the faction vendor, which can now be bought once per day with 7,000 faction tokens and a unnamed amount of gold. But I am almost certain there's going to be a gold component to that purchase.
Maybe, maybe not. Hopefully they've learned. I think they've seen lately that like people are like, dude, I think everything, this is just my personal opinion. I could be dead wrong. Tell me what you guys feel. My personal opinion is everything on the faction store should be free gold wise. It's costing you the tokens. That's the point. You have to do the missions to get the tokens. That's what you're paying. I think having it have a dollar cost is just stupid, my opinion.
100%. You're doing the stuff through the faction rep in whatever location you wish to do it with. They're all, it's a different, quote unquote NPC, but the stores are all the same. You're not having to go from one place to get this special thing versus another, blah, blah, blah. Like, you go, you do the missions, either the PvE, PvP, or both. You get your tokens, buy what you want. This is the faction store. The having a gold cost in addition to seems just contrived.
What do you think, Ark?
I lost that last part. What was the topic?
Basically saying anything you buy from the faction store should not cost gold. You're charging faction tokens. That should be the currency. They should leave gold out of it. That's just dumb.
Yep, totally down with that. I mean, that's something we were saying before. I mean, it was difficult to make the bags like back like in the early when we
Mhm.
started playing, is that you wanted to sell the bags. It was difficult because you couldn't.
500
You
gold
had
for
too
the
much.
little ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And at that time, we didn't have much money. You know what I mean? At all. So it was difficult to even get bags. So absolutely, don't make it be. Don't mix and match tokens. Make it be what it should be, and that's you know just faction money, because that's what you're essentially getting,
Farming.
faction
Yeah.
gear.
Yeah.
And if add more, let's get some more faction gear, man.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Wolf, or not Wolf, sorry. Sword, what do you think on my suggestion?
I completely agree. The gold is a currency, I think, that should be spreadable between all factions, whereas these faction tokens are dedicated for one shop and one shop only.
Damn, I got to apologize to the listeners. We agree way too much. I really want some more conversations with people going, "You're wrong, and here's why," because like that makes for better conversation. But we'll try to mix it up some. All right, Sword, keep going, keep rolling with your notes there.
Aptitude leveling. Smelter crafting gear now to drop from tier 3 aptitude boxes.
Hell
And
yes.
this will be smelting crafting
Whoa,
boxes.
whoa, whoa. Let's be clear. We all assume that, but it's never been stated anywhere. That's a big question mark. I've been holding all of my aptitude boxes just in case they do some weird shit and it's anything. But yeah, we all assume that, but they've never said that anywhere.
That makes sense. Sorry, I have to warn Wolf that there are hostiles by our pickup point for our PvP missions.
Right on.
I'm
And
hanging
then-
out in Great Cleave. I'm in the town.
Drop of viscous Azoth now drop from armor aptitude boxes,
Okay, cool.
which that's a crafting mod
Yeah.
that is relatively desired.
Yeah, cool.
Would you like me to move on to general fixes?
Go for it.
All right. Ancient armor plates, ancient metallic thread, and cold forged buckles are not earnable in game and are no longer incorrectly listed in the trading post.
Why don't we now that I know that Wolf's hanging out in town and you're out there with PvP people looking to kill you, Wolf, take over and let Sword get back to town.
Yeah. Back up to the trade chat channel. It now has a new icon and a new font color, so make it stand out as it's flying by. If you're in a busy area, that's always good.
Cool.
Remove the option to use umbral shards to upgrade an item when the item was removed from the player's inventory and in a bag on the ground. That I don't know why that.
Such a
That's a
weird
bug.
little. It's a weird little corner
Yeah.
case. It's a weird little corner. Technically, it's not a bug because you still had control over it. But the thing is just I don't see even why this is an issue. But like, okay, sure, Mazel Tov, fix that. Because technically, if you were to say let's say I had two Doom's Chance earrings, and I were to throw one away on the ground instead of desynthing it, which I don't understand why anyone would do it, but let's just say I did do it. And then I went to upgrade the one that I have to 625, and for some reason I was dumb enough to click on the one that was on the ground. Then yes, 2 minutes later you would have a very painful mistake demonstrated to you. But like, I don't foresee this being an issue that I will ever have. But like, sure, I think it's good for games to take things and say, we're going to idiot-proof this just so we have less complaints and less like, oh, I'm butthurt later. So like, okay, good job, Mazel Tov.
Fixed an issue where expired orders from the trading post did not notify the player they would be returned to town storage shed.
Okay.
All right.
That only happens when you're online. If you're online and it'll say like, blah 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 returned, or is now available. I put that under the heading of like, who cares? I'll see that next time I'm there. But like, sure, if
Right.
somebody had a problem with that, God bless, make them happy. Whatever.
Fixed multiple grammatical errors found on loading screen tips. That's a good one
Yikes.
for a couple reasons. Like,
Just makes you look bad.
that's a bad place to have a spelling error, or just as you read it, it just makes it sound like whoever wrote it was a buffoon. It's like, come on, everybody's got to stuck here for a second. Let them read something that doesn't make them go, "Are you kidding me?" Fixed an issue where the shield's action menu was not working properly after canceling dying,
So that
as
is
in
yes.
painting.
I want to make my shield blue. I then change my mind and I don't want to, and then the shield would malfunction somehow. Okay, good. Fix that. That's definitely
Weird.
good. Yeah, super weird.
You want me to continue open world, or we want to hand it off to someone else?
Ark, you want to take open world?
Sure. Looks like.
So let me give you guys just Ark is going to take open world, and then Sword is going to take world and quest, and then Wolf will take travel. So you guys can sort of read ahead and have things sort of a little bit prepped for when it's your point. Go ahead, Ark.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not going to go word for word for this one.
Sure.
The big shtick to this is that, less taxes, right? Because, like,
Taxes are bad.
Unlike real life, in the game, at least the taxes are going to go down,
Just
which is generally good.
real quick, Ark, did you see Asmongold's comment on that?
No.
It was fucking hilarious. Everybody knows Asmongold. It was fucking. He said, "New World as a game was just created by Jeff Bezos as a psyops to try to make the entire world realize how shitty taxes are, so that people would be less inclined to be mad at him and Amazon for not paying taxes." I thought that was hilarious. Just me, whatever.
I like that one.
Yeah. So So the short version is, instead of taxes being taxes literally 2 months ago, taxes were 10% to 20%, or no, 10% to 20%. Then we had, for Christmas month, we had a thing where they said, whoops, we accidentally charged you guys for taxes multiple times a week because the clock was screwing up. So we're going to give you basically like a full month. They started off as saying 2 weeks, but they ended up extending it. We're going to give you a full month of paying like just 1% taxes, and we're going to make it up to the companies. And then when they brought taxes back in January, the taxes changed from 1%, from previously it was 10% or like 5% to 20%. Then they were like, okay, now taxes are like 1% to 10% or something. And now they're lowering it yet again to say taxes will now be 0.1% at the low end to 1% at the high end, basically being a non-factor. Taxes are now irrelevant. Instead of paying thousands of, if you had a mansion, when the game first started with my mansion, I was paying like $2,000 or whatever, $3,000 a month, or no, a week. Oh, not even a week. It was every 5 days. And then somewhere along the line, they changed it to every 7 days. But then they lowered it some. Now it's going to be like, for my mansion, my taxes are going to be like next to nothing. I actually think I may go back to my houses and swap out my little houses for mansions now that it's going to be 0.1%. I might as well have that extra storage and extra whatever. And Amazon on the back end, Amazon Game Studios is going to multiply an extra 4 times of what your taxes are, so that whatever you paid in taxes, the 1% that you put in, and then an extra 4% that Amazon is going to put in, if it's at the maximum of 1%, will go to the company that owns it. So I think this is a good thing. Nobody likes taxes. Taxes in real life, to like make schools and roads and your military and your government. Okay, fine. It sucks, but like, I get it. There's a reason for it. Whatever. I'm not going anarcho-capitalist on all y'all, but taxes in a video game is just fucking brutally unfun. And again, this is another case where Amazon is saying, "Hey man, we got shit in our game that's not fun. Let's get rid of that. Let's play up the fun. Let's go No Man's Sky on this and just make shit less grindy and more fun." So huge salute from me. What do you guys feel on all that? Start with Art because it was his section.
Yeah, let Art do it.
Yeah, I mean, this whole section, right? Like it seems to me, if we summon these sections up, it's like, I don't want the game to be like my life, right?
Mhm.
I want the game to be opposite my life. I want to have like real power and money and not think about taxes and not think about like, not have to spend 18,000 hours making 8 million gloves to be good at an armoring thing. So like the tax thing's great, right? We don't have enough money anyways. It'll let people focus their money on where they should focus it, on how to make their character better. And then that is going to get them into these other, things that we talked about where they're allowing people to see gear scores and such that will impact their ability to get in place. So you can invest more into your character versus into, some random tax thing. So I'm all for it.
Beautiful. And so we learned a little bit more about Ark's real life than people wanted to, but yeah. He's like, I want to be powerful in the game, unlike my life. Oh, Jesus, I'm a dick, but that was funny. All right, Sword, Wolf. Go ahead, Wolf, first.
So the one of the things we hit on has been kind of a big sticking point that we discussed on multiple weeks of the show was the rich keep getting richer, and that whole aspect of the mega companies that just
The
roll in,
1%.
take over everything, and that 1% stays a hard 1%.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to cut off a tremendous portion of cash flow to those Uber corps that just, if you've got all the money in the game, going to the trade post, it's like, hey, our core team that's doing this, like, when we show up to do a war, like, we get to pick everyone. I don't have a problem with that. When we show up to an invasion, we're gonna kick everyone who isn't ours because our guys are gonna have the best of the best of the best, sir. Like, this is going to have effects that will temper that to a degree. Whoever's already got a stupid amount of money will still have a stupid amount of money. So this is not going to be an overnight fix. But I'm kind of hoping that, if they make it so that being in these Uber corps and having access to all the money in the world is going to help temper the very elitist attitude we ran across with our former Uber Corp overlords that have left, and make it so that everyone can enjoy the in-game content with the PvE stuff that bit more. I mean, I haven't tried to do an invasion for the longest time because of that, and maybe I'll start signing up again.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Sword might have a different opinion based on the fact that Amazon Game Studios is going to multiply. They're literally making duplicate. They're making extra gold that they're injecting into the economy to give to the owners. While they're reducing the tax, they're actually adding in extra money that they're giving to the owners. Sword, what do you think?
For every coin you pay in tax, the company gets 5.
Correct.
So 4 coins are magically coming in from the gods and goddesses at Amazon Game Studios.
And go ahead.
To be fair, certain portions of towns can be rather expensive as when you look at it, but at the same time, they're not that expensive compared to what people have been bringing in. Not to mention, when you actually take a look at the account books of the towns and cities, especially Windsward and Everfall, even in the old days, housing taxes really only accounted for, at a maximum, 60 to 70% of their income.
Which is still a lot. That's more than half.
Yes, but that was in the old days when tax rates were being doubled during Christmas and they had everything maxed. But now it's more like 30 to 40%. Most of their income is still coming from the trade tax.
Well, let's keep in mind. Let's keep in mind that number one, AGS decentralized the trade tax issue to a certain extent by allowing you to buy universally, having the market boards linked, and number two, let's keep in mind that AGS in the February talk said specifically they realize that there's still a centralization of money and power among the 1%, and they called it out by name, the Windsward and Everfall owners. And they said, we're looking to make greater changes over the coming months to that to help to decentralize that, which we've called for on this show multiple times to say there needs to be some look at revamping that system. They've said in the meantime, one thing that they're looking to do on a more immediate scale, instead of something like, they're doing like larger reworks of the ownership RVR, the Realm v Realm town and county ownership system farther out. But in the short term, what they've decided to do, and this could be a good thing, this could be a bad thing. I don't know, man. They got to handle this properly. In the short term, what they've looked at is that the defenders have an over 80% win rate on wars in general, and what they're looking to do is sort of lower that a little bit with the thought process that whoever owns Windsward or Everfall, if it were a little closer to the 50-50 rate, so that the town was swapping ownership sort of fairly regularly, maybe, swap ownership every other war or every third war, it would make it a little less of concentrated power in one group. I'm afraid, I really think, while I applaud the sentiment behind that comment, I really want them to think that through, because you could end up in a situation where if now the defenders have an almost even chance of losing as the aggressors, you could end up in a situation where on some servers, the Windsward Everfall 1%ers who already have the better gear and have the better stuff, if they have the motivation to do it, they could sweep the board and just in a week just wreck everybody. I think that has to be carefully thought out, but I do applaud the sentiment behind it of trying to decentralize some of that whatever.
Completely agree. And here's the other piece that goes along with that. One thing that the megacorps were doing to encourage people to use Windsward and Everfall was they would go take over, say, Cutlass Keys, and they would raze it to the ground. They'd lose invasions. They'd destroy everything, so that if you wanted to craft something, you had two choices.
Yep.
And if they make it harder to defend, that may increase the prevalence of megacorps being able to encourage people to get back to their two centralized towns without simultaneously having to pay to upkeep the other 7 towns in the game.
All right. So Ark was doing open world before I interrupted and derailed everything. Ark, sorry, go for it.
Yeah, and some of these things I thought we may have mentioned, but just fishing skill is going to be easier. They're reducing the leveling curve 38%. That's great, because I haven't done anything in fishing and I'd like to, so that will happen. The cooking one, I think we mentioned it already. Cooking one's been weird for me. I had spent it 185 or something. I just haven't had a need to get it higher, but I guess I could. Looks like there was a problem with the Dynasty of Gypsum. Or it wasn't giving one, and now it will, which is good. So
basically, Dynasty was all of the rewards for Dynasty were a bit glitched, and they weren't giving out. So even mutator stuff. Sometimes people would run Dynasty and get the proper mutator stuff. Sometimes people would run Dynasty and it would count as doing the level 55 Dynasty. So the rewards you got were shit, and you got no gypsum for it. So that was a weird, it was spotty. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. They're now making sure that consistently it does what it's supposed to.
Yep, so that's thing, and then of course there's some other little janky things that you mentioned that should be good in terms of making sure the same amount of coins get dropped and such. The big one is obviously the Umbral game, so you're going to get
100%.
increased Umbral game from casts, right? And all this, when we say all these things, right, the biggest thing is for players, if you're just tuning in and you're like, man, how should I play this? We're talking a whole bunch of words, sounds complicated. Everything they're doing is supporting you getting to end game faster.
Correct.
Everything
100%.
they've done in this thing is geared towards that. So without getting into the weeds, that's the good stuff. The more shards you have, the more you can start getting your gear up. And also, it's not just hitting end game, but also guys like me who like to run numerous builds. I can get one build, up to snuff, and then I can, assuming they don't keep raising the damn gear score, I can then get another one up, and it shouldn't be a problem because of all these these boosts that we're starting to see.
So just to real quick hop in, when you say increased umbral gain, let's make sure we don't bury the lead. It's literally going. If you right now have a piece of 600 gear and you pop a gypsum cask, you're gonna get 3 umbral shards. Tomorrow, after the patch, you do the same thing. You're gonna get a minimum of 100 umbral shards. So it's going from getting 3 umbral shards to 100, like the lowest you could get to the highest, to getting 100 to 400. So what Ark just said there is absolutely 100% correct. This is making it to where all of those people that were behind are now having so much of an easier job catching up. And I think that is, if you were to take this entire patch notes and sum it up in one sentence, it's we're making it easier for everyone to catch up on every possible way, and giving players that freedom, that power. Like, they're giving you more freedom in how you play your game, in that the combat itself is more free. You can choose second to second how you play your game. They're giving you more freedom on how you play your game, in that it's easier to level up stuff if you want to that's been hard before. They're making it easier to decide how you play your game, in that you're not just locked into only doing mutations. You can now craft and get more umbrals. You can now gypsum and get more umbrals. You can now PvP in Outpost Rush and get umbrals. All of this is just more power to the players. And I gotta say, as a lover of New World, as someone who just is absolutely devoted to this game, that is all win for me. Just 1,000%. I'm sorry, Art. Go ahead.
Yep. The looks like I don't know if it's been this chat bug, but I've had other chat bugs where I'm locked out of chat, which is annoying as hell. So it looks like they fixed the bug with people getting locked out of chat. Looks like because the tooltips infused silk. I don't know what that one is. I guess some kind of infused silk apparel could display incorrect gear score, so that's good. Don't want incorrect gear score problem sets. Then, especially with other people can look at your gear score, especially if it's worse. This is a good one. Ensured expertise bumps are always granted by the first item dropped by expedition bosses, which we know is not true right now. So that should be a really nice one into getting us all caught up to the 600 expertise, which is necessary because everyone's going to be looking for 620, 625 players coming up here. So that's going to be a good thing. Text display and Starbound Rimmer's hearing, meh, cares. This one seems interesting with war. Server now teleports 2 times as many people, twice as many people into and out of a war, resulting in less standby and wait time. So I guess that could be good. Fixtures causing fire status, life status to roll with incorrect attribute perk. Yeah, that's not good. Does Sin see that sometimes? I can't remember. He's talking about something goes off on his life staff. I can't remember, but that sounds like something that's pretty crappy. Reduced amount of powerful gem dust. So this is good because I know it's hard. Powered gem dust is difficult to get. So lessening it to make mutated orbs. That's another mechanism that's allowing people to be able to get more orbs. And then ultimately, as we just said, all of these things equal getting into play in-game content that helps you progress your character, and that's all a good thing. Mutated orbs cannot be purchased from the faction, so that's a great thing.
Well, so mutated orbs could already be purchased from the faction once a week, but now it's once every 3 days, so it's more than twice as much. Yep.
And that's it. That's the last one there. So that's good. More access to the places we want to be.
And as of tomorrow, you will now be able to buy a gypsum every day for 7,000 tokens, as we said earlier. So you get more ability to do mutator orbs. Again, we're gonna have we'll discuss this. We'll continue to discuss this. I am not a fan of the mutator. I'm not a fan of the entire orb system. The keys. It just seems like it's locking away or time gating content. I get that there has to be some sort of provision, some thought process towards balance of that. You don't want it to just be that people are able to just run the same thing 90 times and like, ta-da, but like, there's got to be a better way to do that. But as much of a not fan of that as I am, the more that they do to allow, so at the beginning, you got 1 a week. And then it's like, oh, well, now we're making it easier for you to make them, and you can get 2.2 a week because it's 1 every 3 days. So every once in a while you get a week where you can buy 3, but most weeks you can buy 2. all of this is just, again, coming back to giving the players more power to do what they want. Less time gate, less locking, less blocking, less harder to grind, and just more like it's easier to get in there. The rewards that they give you are better. You have more options on how you want to access the rewards that you want to get. Just all good. Anybody got any thoughts on the open world before we move on to whoever had world and then whoever had quest and travel? All right, hit up world and quests. I think that was
All
sword, right?
First thing off is it used to be possible to get into the northern fort and OPR. Not the outpost, which I believe is Moon, but the actual fort where you spawn at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
They have fixed that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of disappointed because that was kind of a fun thing to do. You couldn't actually hurt anybody in the spawn, but you could troll the heck out of them.
Mm.
Fixed
Sword
an
is
issue
always
that
making friends.
fixed an issue that caused players to really receive large amounts of poinsettias. They adjusted it down to 4. That might be an issue I'll have to solve later. Yeah. Quests. Level 60 quests in Reekwater and Shattered Mountain now reward Gypsum Orbs. Wolf, I know you've got something on that.
Yay! That's all I'm gonna say is just yay. Help me in my catch-up game.
Nice.
And then the final thing under quests is increase reward experience for side quests level 10 through 60 by 50%. Yeah, this will help get a lot of people ahead very quickly.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I can think of a couple people in our company who would absolutely love that level of catch-up buff.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Hell yeah. It's going to be great. Me personally, I count for multiple of those people because I have multiple alts that I'm about to start leveling up just because I'm a crazy person and love New World. Wolf, did you see my note in company chat with regard to the travel section? How to sum that up just to get it going fast? And then
so it's super simple. They have recognized that the way that they've done fast travel, like we need a fast travel system, absolutely. It needs to cost something, absolutely. If you were carrying around a whole bunch of stuff all the time, oh god, did that get painful? And it just made moving around and doing stuff to play the game and have fun and do whatever you want, it sucked. So they took that out, and now it's just 20 Azoth to travel. Yay! You can get that just with having the Azoth reward coming in from doing gathering and just pile that stuff on, and then you can jump around to your heart's content. They also made it so that your recalls, the time for when you can use it again for free, got cut in half. Awesome. And then if you don't want to wait that long, they made it cost a whole lot less to just reset them. So they have made the player's ability to just bounce around and go do whatever the heck they want to do way easier, and 2 big thumbs up to them for that.
Hell yeah. I'm going to take combat and then I'm going to close it out for the show because we're running overtime. On the subject of combat, they fixed the Keenly Jagged tooltip to kind of show more correctly what it does. When you're doing a melee attack, you no longer have a delay before you can sprint again. That's great. Reduce the player sliding after you do the dodge roll. That's great. Then there's 2 weapons that three weapons that they call out specifically. Void Gauntlet, as we already covered above, it's getting a little bit of a nerf. It's been a little bit of a too strong thing. Everybody knows that the Void Gauntlet, the Gauntlet meta has been rough. Rapier, again, as we said, its running away ability has been nerfed a little bit. Great Axe started this PTR round with a huge nerf to Gravwell, and now I wouldn't say it's a nerf. I wouldn't say it's a buff. I would say it got side graded. They switched around a little bit of the way how Gravwell works. I'm not saying it's more powerful or less powerful. It's just different. I think for some players, they're definitely going to see this and say, for me, it's way less powerful. You screwed up my grab well. I think there are other players that are going to use this specifically in combination with a meta where in wars and other situations, you pull a group of people into a spot and then hit them with the scream, or then hit them with the what do you call it, the ice gauntlet snowstorm thing. You're it, we're going to see how this plays out and how new metas sort of evolve and change with that. On the server, trading and sending gold now requires you to sort of be together. I think that's a sort of trying to combat bots or whatever. And then there's lots of other bugs that have been fixed. So we've run through the entirety of the patch notes and we have gone over time on the show. Let's take a minute to just have everybody close out with their closing thoughts on all of this and what they think. We'll start with Sword, then we'll do Wolf, then we'll do Arc. Go for it.
I am really looking forward to the patch. I'm looking forward to getting into mutators full on. I am very glad they're bringing down the time getting on practically everything in this game. And however, I'm still a little cautious about what the changes are doing to the economy, and still think they need to do a little bit more to reduce the power of the big clans.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for joining us while you hear three guys just going over a whole mess load of patch notes and what our thoughts were, what we see as good and bad, and I see a lot of good. They're doing a lot to develop this game and make it more fun, and really doing some good quality of life fixes and whatnot. And I really hope that they get everything so that it's nice, happy, fun, yay. And then next thing coming up will be some more content for all of us to enjoy. I mean, I know I'm still waiting on getting my gear score up to go to the mutators and do that, but after that, it's like, hey, are we gonna get a new area? There's supposed to be a desert out past Evanscale. I'm kind of curious to see what that's gonna hold for us.
Hell yeah. Arc?
Yo, yeah, look, I mean, I think for most people, whether you're someone who played this game and walked away from it, or you're still playing it, or you're new to it, everything we talked about tonight is crazy in depth it got. Everything that they've done for this patch has been positive. Everything points in the direction of a team putting effort and energy into making a game better. It doesn't at all look like a team who's like slowly doing the Homer Simpson in the bushes to get away from this project, who's looking at anything other than making this game be a premier MMO for years and years to come. And I think this is going to be, regardless how many other updates come out, the Christmas, fest that just happened, March, whatever that brings, new weapons, like this could be the staple for sort of the future of this game, because they're finally getting it to where it needed to be, and it's only been 5 months. Like I don't know, I seriously don't know what game, and I've been playing games as many. Look, no one's played games longer than me. Put it that way. Video games. I've had the very first one that ever came out, and to now, and I've never seen any game in 5 months do as much as this game has done, in terms of, especially in the MMO franchise. So take that however you want, but this game's on the rise, and I hope some of you guys come join us here in the Discord, join us, have some fun with us.
Hell yeah. Well, you guys have already heard all of my thoughts. I'm not going to subject you to them again, other than to say I agree with 93% of what's been said here by everybody summing up, and that's just to fuck with people. But I think these are all changes that are moving in a positive direction. Super psyched for what's to come. I don't think that this is going to bring a lot of people back. I think what this is going to do is make the quality of life of the game as a whole better, to A, stop people from leaving, and B, make it such that when people come back to try the new things that they're bringing in March and April and down the line, these very necessary changes to the game of removing or easing restrictions on your time are just going to make the quality of life, and especially added in with the expanded freedoms to choose to play the game how you want to, and the abilities, the fixing stuff with combat and whatever to make the second to second of the actual play better. all of this I just think is a huge win. I don't see this patch bringing tons of people back. I see this patch being the thing that makes the game better as a whole, so that when people come back to try the new shit in a month or two, they like the whole game, not just the new shit. And this is absolutely, it's not sexy, but it's what's needed for the viability of the game long term. So I salute Amazon Game Studio for continuing to plug away at it, continuing to get it done, and making good choices. I'd like to see them continue it even further. The time gating, I'm not a fan of in any way, so I'd like to see even more diminishment of restrictions and expansion of freedoms. That's just where I stand. Getting rid of the taxes, making the movement faster, making the leveling faster, and catching up better. These are all just big, big wins, and I hope that we see even more with the orbs in the future to make that just a system that feels a little more free. So we love you all. I'm cracking open another beer, and we're about to go run some dungeons. Hop into New World and play it. Get on the NA East Pluto server. You have transfer tokens. Come join us. Come join this squad of weirdos in drinking beer and talking about TV shows and movies and what's on Netflix while we run dungeons, because, you know, it's fun. We love you all. Later.